Good morning to you. Welcome back to Morning Live. Now, Africa has 5 representatives at the FIFA World Cup in Qatar, and those teams are, of course, Cameroon, Ghana, Tunisia, Morocco, and the African champions, Senegal. Now, to help us look at what is possibly going to happen with these 5 teams, we've roped in the cream of the crop when it comes to journalism in South African football, Mazola Molefe, as well as Velile Mngandu. But we are also joined now by Good Morning Qatar, which is, of course, live on SABC 1. Mazola, I'm going to start with you quickly. And the reason I want to start with you quickly is because I just want you to quickly just tell us what happened with Bafana Bafana last night and that performance. We know that they were playing in a friendly match against Mozambique.
Yeah, morning, V. Well, I mean, I think, maybe social media didn't know that Bafana Bafana were playing, but in Mbombela, people showed up in their numbers, and a solid performance, 2-1 victory for Coach Hugo Bross's men. I was highly entertained. I think, for him to have Bongo Guhle Hlongwane back and the likes of Fakhri Lake as well, showed that the coach has been missing these strikers that can turn the game in his favor. Yes, it's a friendly. We are not going to the World Cup, but to build up to the next Africa Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast and the 2026 World Cup should start now for our country.
And you speak rightly about us not going to the World Cup, but Veza, a team that is going to be in the World Cup is Senegal. But we know now that they've suffered a huge blow in the confirmation that Sadio Mane is not going to be ready for the World Cup, having undergone surgery last night. What does this mean for the Senegalese team? And do you still see them getting out of the group stages without Mane being there?
Morning, V. Well, look, it's still a strong Senegalese team. But we've got to say that this is the African Footballer of the Year. That is injured in Sadio Mane. And I guess since that injury was confirmed, there's always been a concern. In fact, even with Bayern Munich at the time, they were not entirely happy that Senegal has even announced him in the squad going to the World Cup. And I guess the latest tests now have resulted in this situation. But make no mistake, I think Coach Ali Cisse has got a strong team still, but they will be missing one of the top players in the world in Sadio Mane. But if you look at the team that lifted the AFCON title earlier this year, their maiden AFCON title, you can still count on a number of players, Ismail Sarr, you can count on a strong attack as well. So I think looking at the teams that are in the group, I still see Senegal managing to go through to the next stage.
And Mazola, Velile rightly speaks about how Senegal does have a strong team. I mean, you look at their captain, Koulibaly, you look at their goalkeeper, Mendy. So surely that is some comfort that also the coach does get.
Yeah, I think their group also, they've got, Ecuador, they've got the hosts, Qatar. I think the Netherlands will probably be the only team that possibly gives them a hard time in that group. The rest, with or without Sadio Mane, I think they should be able to negotiate their way out of that group. It's when you get to the next phase of the competition that it gets a lot tougher because you obviously, maybe if they top the group, they can avoid the big guns, but if they finish second, then they're likely to face an even tougher opposition. But having said that, it's a huge blow not to have a player that, by all accounts, if you look at how Liverpool are struggling this season, some have put it down to not having Sadio Mane in the team since he left to go to Germany.
Velile, I want us to move to another team, a team that has not been what we've seen of it in the past, Cameroon. Can they emulate the heroics that we saw in Roger Miller's 1990 team? What do you see happening with this Cameroonian side? Don't really have a lot of names that a lot of people are familiar with. How do you see this World Cup panning out for them?
I think if you look at the 5 African representatives coming to this tournament, you've got 3 that have been to the quarterfinals, and that is Cameroon, that is Ghana, and also that is Senegal. And interesting that all 3 are in this tournament. And I think with the Cameroonian team, the late coaching change that also happened in Rigobert's song, taking this team to the World Cup, is really going to be tested now in this tournament. But also, they've got also some good players that you can look at, individual players in this tournament. There's been a lot of talk about the strong influence of the FECAFOOT president, that is Samuel Eto'o, in everything that has been happening with this Cameroonian team. But if you also go back to the AFCON that they hosted earlier this year, until the semi-final stage that they got into, you could see that it was a strong Cameroonian team, the very good results as well, until Egypt knocked them out of the tournament. But I also don't have a strong belief that this is a Cameroonian team that will go beyond the group stages.
And we talk about these African teams. Mazola, one African team, and not just the national team, but if you look at football in Morocco as well, has improved so much, including the women's football. When we look at this Moroccan side, what are the expectations of what they'll be able to achieve in Qatar? They've got some really good ball players.
Yeah, look, and they've got Hakim Ziyech back. Obviously, him and the previous coach were at loggerheads. In fact, he had retired from international football because he did not get along with the coach. He is back. You would have seen this week he scored a stunning goal, in the mold of Yusuf Mat from the halfway line. And the Moroccans were saying, well, this is what we were talking about. This is why we wanted Hakim in the team. But having said that, they've got a tough group. I mean, they've got Canada, an emerging team in world football that's doing well, and they've got some top players playing around the world. They've got Belgium. People still feel this is the last kick of a dying horse from the golden generation, so that will be tough. And they've also got Croatia. So you look at the dynamics there. That's a very tough group. For me, Morocco are in arguably the toughest group at the World Cup, and it should be tough, but it doesn't change the expectations. You brought in a new coach, you've got your star player in Hakim Ziyech back, you've got some of the best players around the world also that are playing for top clubs yet, like your Inter Milans. So let's see what they can do. But, the people of Morocco will not accept mediocrity, especially because they got rid of the coach for the purpose of doing better and improving on their world, their previous, standards at the World Cup. As tough as it might be, as I said previously, if you look at that group.
And Veza, just as I wrap up with you, we've got about 20 seconds left. Tunisia, I mean, they play a sound football. They're not fancy, but they are effective. How do we see them doing in this World Cup?
Yeah, I think Senegal for them is also going to be difficult.
Tunisia.
Yeah, Tunisia is also going to be very difficult for them in this tournament. Also in a very strong group. When you look at, they've got France, they've got Denmark, and also they've got Australia. And those are all formidable teams coming to this tournament. And I think also when you look at even their qualification, the team that they managed to qualify ahead, Mali, I thought they deserved to be in this tournament. Not really a good showing for them as well at the AFCON earlier this year. That they also played Brazil earlier this week and they were hammered 5-1, So that is not really a good sign, but you always also maybe look at international friendly matches ahead of this tournament differently, because this has been a very unusual World Cup in terms of preparing for.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this morning, and we do look forward to seeing how these 5 African nations are going to do in this World Cup. Do have a blessed one ahead, and Mazola, enjoy Bafana Bafana on Sunday.
Will do, B.
Of course, Mazola will be part of the SABC Sport team that will be bringing that Bafana Bafana encounter on Sunday.